Okay, everyone. Now you are looking at a question that most likely you will see at the ministry exam in June. So, bunch of information is here. You need to find one information to get another information, but to summarize, you need to know four things here. Number one, Pythagorean Theorem. Remember that's in a right triangle, c square equals a square plus b square. Sin law, a divided by sinus a equals b. This is the side divided by sinus b. That's the angle. And angles, so you need to know, most importantly, at the corner of a triangle, this means 90 degree always. And in a triangle, angles, all three of them together, a plus b plus c equals 180 degree always. And ratio of right triangles, that's the one when you see a right triangle, inside right triangle you have another right triangle. So that's the ratio of right triangle. You know all four of them, you should be able to do this question. So let me give you the example and let me go through the steps how you can do this. First, let's read the question. It says, what is the angle of ACB? Which one is that? A is here, C is here, B is here. In other words, ACB, ACB. So the only angle is here. ACB, the question mark, where you see the question mark, this is what we need to find out. You find that angle, you are done with this question. But to find that angle, first of all, this side is given. That seems to me we will use the sin law. But to use the sin law, you need another angle you are aware of, and seems like 90 degree, so we know this. But we don't know the side. If the question would be able to tell me this is, let's say, 50, this will be a piece of cake. You will just use the sin law and find that out. Or a little bit differently, we already know that I can try to find out this in order to get that. So there are many ways to do this. But as you can see over here, they gave us a bunch of information. So they want us to use this. Let's do that. Remember, you only need to know four things: Pythagorean theorem, sin law, angles, and ratio of right triangles. So looking at here, I am able to see a right triangle inside another right triangle. This means I am going to use the ratio of right triangles. Alright, so this is X. What I know about right triangles ratio is that I'm going to pick one of the sides here, either this or that. Let's pick 7. And I will divide that with the side here, which is X, equals, I'm going to reuse the X, divide it by the other side I didn't pick, which is, in this case, 28. So let me clear this part. So let's use the ratio. cross multiplication. 7 times 28 equals x times x. This is x squared. 7 times 28. 7 times 28 is 196. Let's write that down. 196. And this is x squared. I am not interested in x squared. I am interested in x. So let's take the square root. Now this is not x squared anymore. It is x, and 169 square root of that . 14. Let's use the blue color here. So 14. I find out this is 14. So now I got this information. What do I do with this information? What I know is that if this is 90 degree, that will also be 90 degree. So now look, what I have here is another right triangle, and I know this, I know that. That means I can figure out this, which is C. So let's use the Pythagorean theorem. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. And C is the one I don't know. Let's keep it as C. A and B never matters, remember. So let's use this as A. 14 square plus, let's use this as B. 28 square. And let's continue with our calculation. C square equals 14 square, I remember that it was 196 plus 28 square. Let's calculate that. 28 square, oops, let's clear this first. 28 square, 784. 784. So I'm going to add these two numbers. So 169 plus 784. This is already here. Plus 196. And it will be 980. So let's write that down. 980, and this is C square equals to that. I am interested in C, not C square. So let's take the square root, and C would be square root of that, which is I'm going to round this up to the nearest hundredth. So the third digit I am looking at is 4, which is less than 5. So I'm going to ignore it. And then the 0 comes. I'm going to ignore 0 as well. And the answer would be 31.3. 31.3. 31.3. So let's go back to our question. And let me clear this first. So I find out this is 14. And now I find out this part, HE, is 31.3. So let's write that down. 31.3. Believe me, I have no idea what I am doing here. All I know, I applied the um, the right triangle ratio, and I find out that, and then I use the Pythagorean theorem to find out that, and now I know I find this number. I'm going to use this for some reason. So let's just keep going. See, I think I am going through to get that. But let's see what I need this information now. Okay, looking at this triangle, I can see that there are two angles given to me. So I can figure out this one. But actually that looks like 90 degree, because we got 90 degree here. Right? So this is supposed to be 90 degree. Let's just make sure. This is 55, this is 45. I will subtract both of them. So this is the angles information I'm using. I will subtract both of them from 180 to get that. And I believe that will be 90 degree. Let me prove it to you. 55 and 45. 180 minus 55 minus 45 gives me 80. Oh my gosh. I'm glad I did this, because it seems like a straight line, but I see that it is not a straight line. So this is the 90 degree, but I find that it's 80 degrees, just slightly, little bit forward. So therefore, it's hard to see. It's not 90 degree, but I am glad I had my doubt. So let's just do this one more time. 180 minus 55 is this, minus 45 is that. Yes, it's 80. Okay. I'm happy I checked that out. So the degree we have here, it seems to me straight, but I'm glad we checked this out. So this is 80 degree. So now I know all three angles. If just one side is given to me, I can find out the other two sides. And one side is given to, actually it wasn't given to me. I find that out using my calculations. But now I can figure out both of them. But I also know that figuring this out won't help me. It's not gonna help me in many ways, in any ways. So I'm gonna calculate this part. And this part is called, let's pull this up a little bit, BE. So I'm going to find out BE. So let's place my X there. So this is the X I need to find out. So since I know the angles and one of the sides, I am going to use the sin law. So let's calculate it. Sin law, I'm going to calculate like this. Side X divided by sinus whatever is the angle, and X, which one belongs to side X? The one angle that does not touch to the side X at all. And 55 does touch the X. 45 does touch the X. But 80 doesn't touch the side X. So that's the angle I'm looking for. Sinus 80 equals, so now I just need to write down the side I know, which is this 31.3 divided by sinus, and that side is not being touched by angle 55. So using the sin law, X equals to 31.3 times sinus 80 divided by sinus 55. Let's calculate that. 31.3 sinus 80. 31.3 times sinus 80. And that is this. And I'm going to divide that with sinus. I'm sorry, where is it? And I'm going to divide that with sinus 55. So let's do that. Divide that with sinus 55, and I will get that I need to round this up to the nearest hundredth. So third digit is 9, it's more than 5, so I'm going to add 1 extra. 62 will become 63. So 3763. 3763. X is 37.63. So I find out X is 37.63. Now what do I do with this information? I don't know, but all I know, with the information previously given to me, I got that far so far. So let's continue. Now I'm going to focus on the triangle that's here. And when I focus on that, I know one of the sides, I figure it out, and 2 angles are given to me, so I can figure out the other angle here. So 180 minus 50 minus 70. Let's do that. 180 minus 50 minus 70. That's 60. So the angle here is 60. So I know all 3 angles. So which side I want to find out? I know this one. Since I know that and all 3 angles, so I can figure out both this and that. Which one I want to figure it out? I want to come closer to the question mark here. So finding out this, maybe I'll be able to calculate that. Maybe I'll be able to calculate that. Maybe I'll be able to find the angle here. But that's too far from the question and it's not being asked, so I'm not going to waste my time and energy. So let's just focus on the question mark. So let's get closer to that. So I'm going to place my X here. And I know I'm going to use the sin law here. So X divided by the angle is 60, sinus 60, equals the side I know, 37.63 divided by 70 doesn't touch that, sinus 70. So I know that X equals to sinus 60 will go up to the other side to multiply 37.63 times sinus 60, everything divided by sinus 70, and X would be, so let's do that, 37.63 37.63 times sinus 60, I guess. And yes, sinus 60 divided by sinus 70. So sinus 60 equals that divided by sinus 70. Yes, it is 70. 70. Let's do that. And the number I get is this. I'm going to look at the third digit here, which is 9. So I know I'm going to add 1 extra to 67. It will be 68. 34.68. 34.68. 34.68. This is 34.68. Now, I'm very close to the question now. So, I know this. Now, I just have to focus on this triangle. And what I know is this, 44. What I know is that, 34.68. So I know the angle here. This is 90 degrees. But there is a but. I do not know. This is 90 degrees, yes, but I do not know the side across from it, so I can use the sin law to calculate either this or that. Doesn't matter which one I'm going to calculate, but I have to know the angle, which is this, and the side it belongs to. And it belongs to that. I do not know that. So, I cannot use the sin law here. This angle I don't know, but I do know the side. That angle I don't know, but I do know the side. This angle I know, but I do not know the side. So I need this side. So how can I find this side? I'm not going to use sin law. I cannot use the sin law, but there is a 90 degree here, which means I can use the Pythagorean theorem once again. So this is C, this is A, and this is B. So I can calculate the C here. So let's do that. Let's write down the Pythagorean theorem once again. Pythagorean theorem is C squared equals A squared plus B squared. And C squared is the one we don't know. A squared, we said 44. Let's call this A. 44, square that. And the side we find out, which is 34.68. 34.68. 34.68, square that. So now let's do the math here. 44 square, 44 square is this, 1936. 1936 plus 3468. 3468 square that, and I'm going to get a number, and I'm going to round this up to the nearest hundredth. The third digit is 2, so I'm not going to give 1 extra, and the next number I have is 0. I'm going to ignore that. Simply I'm going to write down 1202.7. 1202.7. So I'm going to add these two numbers. 1936. Add it with 19. Okay, let's clear this up. 1202.7. 1202.7 plus 1936. 1936. And I'm gonna get that 31, 38, 7. C squared equals 31, 38.7. That's C squared, and I wanna know C. Let's take the square root of that, and square root of this. I'm gonna round up this number. So the third digit after the decimal is 4, so I'm not gonna add one extra. 56.02. 56.02. 56.02. So C is that 56.02. Oops, sorry. 56.02. By the way, all the units are meters, right? So let's say meters, 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 meters. Okay. And so I'm very close. Be patient. It's a long journey here, but we are almost done. Now I can place my X there. Let's use a different color. So I'm going to place my X there. Now I'm going to use the sin law. So sinus, let's make a line here, sinus X. Now sinus X is on top, divided by the side it belongs to, which is 44, equals, now I'm going to use the angle I know and the side I know, which is this 90 degree sinus 90 divided by side is 56.02. So let's send this to the other side to multiply, and sinus X would be, so sinus 90 times 44 divided by 56.02. So let's go ahead and calculate that. And sinus 90 times 44, sinus 90 times 44. Let's see if that will work. It didn't, yes, because I have to close. You don't have to do this with your calculator, but with my online calculator, sinus 90, I have to close the bracket, times 44. You will get 44 again, because simply sinus 90 means 1. But anyway, you didn't have to know that. 44, and I will divide this with 56.02 equals, I'm going to get this number. So you might think that I want to round this up to the nearest 100, but no, no, no. Please do remember, when you calculate sinus degrees, it makes big difference between first two digits and after the decimal, first two digits and first four digits. It makes difference. So I need 4 digits is here. I'm going to round this up to the nearest 10,000. I need 4 digits. So 7854. The fifth number is 3, which is less than 5, so I'm not going to add one extra, but my answer will be 0.7854. 7854. So let's write it up here. Sinus x equals 0.77854. And now I can use sinus minus 1 to find out x. And x would be, this is a degree, it's going to be a regular number when I round this up. I'm going to get a weird number here, but I'm going to round it up to the regular whole number. So 7854. So will it work if I just do that? I think it will. Equals. So I got this number. Remember, you need to press on the second function of your calculator to get sinus minus 1. And I got 51.7. So the first digit after the decimal is 7. More than 5, I'm going to give 1 extra. So your answer will be 52. It will be 52. 52 degree. So you find out that the question mark, the angle ABC is 52 degree. This is where you are done. Woo! Now look at the board. A lot of calculation, but I repeat, I did not use anything other than 1. Pythagorean Theorem, 2. The sin law, 3. The angles, 4. Ratio of right triangles. I didn't use any other information here. So good luck.